Hey, are you thinking about moving to Las Vegas here in Nevada? And maybe you're in that research phase. Maybe you've heard lots of good things, or maybe you've heard lots of bad things. You want a more balanced view? Well, I've got you covered in this video because I'm going to give you the pros and cons of living in Las Vegas. I've obviously gone through relocation, so I've had a lot of these questions. I'm going to talk from my experience of living here, and I'm going to start right now. So we'll start with the pros first, and one of the first pros is going to be obvious because it is the entertainment capital of the world, and that's the exceptional entertainment that's on offer here in Las Vegas. It's what brings a lot of you guys maybe here first as tourists, and that's what gets the interest peaked in maybe thinking about moving to Las Vegas is you've been here on a vacation, you've been on the strip, you know how amazing it is, you've maybe gone to see a show, you've been in the casinos, there's just always a plethora of events to go and see within the Vegas area. And on the strip alone, there's just so much to do, whether that is the types of shows like Cirque du Soleil or some of the other shows in the other casinos. Maybe your favorite musical artist is in town. We were lucky to go and see Ed Sheeran last year. He cancelled, but then obviously I was able to redo it in October, which was an amazing show. He was always on my bucket list. My wife has also been to see a few of the acts she wants to see. She's pushing me to go and see Usher and Neo, so we're trying to get tickets for those at the moment as well. Maybe she wants to relive her 90s kids moment. I don't know, you tell me. But happy wife, happy life, they always tell me. We've been to see Cirque du Soleil car as well, which is an amazing show. Actually, didn't expect it to be so good. So much great circus acts, but the actual story was quite emotional. I thought someone was maybe chopping onions for a while because I sort of started welling up. So if you haven't seen that one, then definitely go and see it. And if you've got any recommendations for me, actually, for some shows to go and see, pop that down in the comments below because I'm always looking for some new shows when we do get time to go on a date night. But then aside from the strip, then, you know, in the different parts of your neighborhoods, maybe you're going to be living in Summerlin, you're going to have Red Rock Casino that's going to be there, and that's got some great entertainment to go and see there as well. Or maybe you like to travel and there's some entertainment that's going to be just really a close drive away from Las Vegas. So if you're looking for entertainment, I think that Vegas is going to offer that for you. And I speak to a lot of those that reach out to me, and some of the things they say is, oh, we want to move somewhere where there's loads to do, where it's not dead, we want to have lots of activities. Well, as I said, Vegas is definitely going to tick that box. So if you ask me, that is definitely one of the biggest pros. One of the other pros of living in Las Vegas is the travel connections. I sort of touched on it a little bit there in the first point, how, you know, if you wanted to go to LA, it's going to be such a close drive. You can be in LA within about 4 hours, traffic depending, which really isn't bad. And obviously, if you fly, it's even a quicker flight. But whatever way you want to travel, whether that's driving to California, driving to Utah to maybe see some snow in the wintertime, you get maybe sick of the desert heat and you want to go hit some snow and have a snowball fight. Well, Utah isn't really that far to go and drive. Arizona is also very close by, in Phoenix and everything that is to offer in Arizona as well. And obviously those are the states that are close by, but then we also have one of the largest airports within the whole of the country. Now, when you're living in some states, to get to the major airport can be a mission of a drive in itself, or sometimes you need to take a smaller flight to get to the main airport within the state. The way Vegas is sort of situated, it's sort of like a square, and then the airport and the strip, obviously, but the airport as well is quite central. So no matter where you're living within the whole of the Las Vegas Valley, probably maybe at the most it's going to take you 40 minutes, and that's going to be from like maybe the far northwest. Most areas in town are going to be probably a 30-minute drive maximum to the airport, and then from there you can go anywhere you want to be. I mean, they've even got direct flights to the UK now, which I'm super happy about from my own point of view. Obviously, if you want to travel within the States, it's so easy to get a real cheap flight as well. And it's probably the third or fourth largest airport, within the US. So that shows you how busy it is and how many flights there are available. And those flights sometimes, depending on when you're flying, if you can time it right, because obviously the weekends are always going to be busy with people flying into the area and on a Monday flying out. But if you can get a midweek flight, then sometimes you can even get better prices on those flights as well. If you want to go to the Caribbean, it's very easy from here. My brother-in-law at the moment lives in Canada, but one of the things that is really pulling him to move to the Vegas area is he just loves to travel. I mean, I'm sure that guy has a map of the world and he just puts a dart and decides where to go next. One of the things he's excited about coming to Vegas and living here is that it just makes it so much easier compared to where he's living now in Canada. It's just so much easier to go and fly off and do those types of things. As a family, we're always going to Disneyland. I'm a big sucker for Disney, and making memories in Disneyland. So we've been to Disneyland a few times, and that was like a 4 hour drive, maybe a bit longer, with the kids wanting to stop and are we there yet? And I need to pee, I need to puke. Probably felt a bit longer, but I'm sure it was only about a 4.5 hour drive, which, if you ask me, that's incredible. You can go from Vegas and living in Vegas to driving to Disneyland. But yeah, let me know where, if you move here, let me know where you would want to go and visit. One of the other big pros about living in Las Vegas, and another reason that a lot of you guys actually consider moving here to begin with, especially those of you out on the East Coast, is the weather. I mean, 300 days of sunshine on average, and then average temperatures of around about 80 degrees. At the time of filming this, we're just coming towards the end of April, middle of April actually, and we're already in the 80 degrees at the moment. It's another clear blue sky outside. I mean, if I compare that to a lot of places, and a lot of the places you say you're moving from, it's cloudy, it's miserable, it's rainy, and that's what you want to get away from. I think there's something to be said about when you open up your windows in the morning, or you look out in the morning and it's a clear blue sky and the sun is shining. I'm sure there's something scientifically based where that actually affects your mood. It's like a natural upper, and we certainly all need vitamin D as well in our body, so it's definitely a great resource for that as well. And then obviously, aside from that, we have a really settled weather system. I remember when I was younger, thought about moving to the US, when I had dreams of living in Florida or California. I always thought those would be the two places that I would end up. Disney World obviously being in Florida, and I used to watch the OC and obviously Newport Beach in California, so I was convinced I was going to end up in one of those places. Having now moved here and seen like how the weather systems are in different places, I wouldn't want to be dealing with the earthquakes in California or the hurricanes and everything else that goes on in Florida. We don't have any of that to worry about here in Vegas. We might have the odd earthquake, but it doesn't really do any damage. It doesn't really have any effect on the properties. It's not to the scale that you have in California. At the most, sometimes we maybe have from the wildfires, we sometimes have a bit of smoke come over. Maybe it's a bit smoggy, so if you have asthma or any of those sort of breathing difficulties, it might be wiser to stay indoors when that happens. And there's always an advisory. You'll always get it on your phone, on the weather app. It'll tell you there's an advisory, so maybe stay indoors on those times. But other than that, we don't have any natural disasters, no hurricanes, no earthquakes, no wildfires really. There's no blizzards, there's no real big flooding. Yeah, we sometimes have torrential rain when it does rain. Nothing really like you get in other states. So when you couple in the high temperatures, when you couple in the sunshine, and then no natural disasters, and then obviously how that can affect your property insurance as well, I think weather is definitely a win, although we might also pop on and see if it's going to be in the cons as well. But for now, it's definitely going to go on the pros. The next pro for me is going to be the professional sports teams here in Vegas. I mean, I grew up around sports in the UK, and obviously Vegas doesn't really maybe have its own heritage of sports, but they certainly are good at taking sports teams from other states. Obviously, we have the Las Vegas Raiders football team, and one of these days, I'm convinced they're going to win a Super Bowl. I mean, I don't know why they got rid of Derek Carr, but that's a whole different story. But I'm sure Raider Nation are going to see a Super Bowl at some point. I was hoping it would have been this year with the fact that it was going to be in Vegas, but no, it just wasn't to be. We also obviously have the Oakland A's baseball team and their situation of moving here. We know their stadium's going to be built where the Tropicana is. That closed down recently. There's still a bit of a debate of where their temporary stadium's going to be. But obviously that's going to be fantastic for the area. That's another professional sports team as well. There's always been talk of a potential NBA franchise, so I would not be surprised if there would be an NBA franchise here at some point. Hasn't happened yet. There's just been little rumors and discussions about it. Obviously, we had the F1 here as well, and that's a 10-year contract, so that was fantastic. It caused a lot of disruption, if I'm being honest. I mean, I tried to stay away from the strip when that was happening. The road and the congestion around that area was an absolute nightmare. I think I had someone who wanted to go view homes. No, they want me to pick them up at the strip to go and view homes, and it was just impossible to try and get anywhere close to where they were because of all the different road closures. But it brought in a lot of money for some people. I mean, I didn't see any of the money, but I'm sure some people in the city made some money for it, and hopefully that's gone towards some of the taxes for the city as well, which maybe can help out something. I don't know. Our school district probably definitely needs some of that money dispersed to them. We obviously have UFC and boxing events here constantly as well, which is also fantastic for the city. There was talks of an MLS soccer team to be here, but I think we lost out on the bidding to, it's either, I always get it wrong, it's one of the Sands, it's either San Diego or San Jose, but the team that was meant to be here was going to be affiliated with my team, Aston Villa, back in the UK, the same owners. and they've trademarked the name Vegas Villain. So I'm still hoping, from a personal point of view, that they can still make that happen in the future, because I'd love to have an MLS soccer team here. At the moment, I'm watching Inter Miami and Messi, but who knows what will happen in the future. So it'll be great to have a soccer team here. And that's just the fantastic thing. You know, for me, growing up in the UK, we had these sports that we were watching live, not just playing, but we were watching live. And it gives you these role models to aspire to. And I think that's great for Vegas is, you know, young boys and girls can also aspire to these celebrities. Obviously, we also had the women's NBA team as well, the Aces. They've won it twice now. We've got the Golden Knights in the hockey who won the Stanley Cup. So there's just so much sports in this area. So if you love sports, I think you should check it out. And then the final pro of living in Las Vegas, and it's one that you always hear about, and that's probably why I've left it to the last. I didn't want to make it at the front because everyone's always heard about this, but I couldn't do a pros and cons video without putting it on here, and that's because there's no state income tax. Some of you moving from different states, whether that's California, Oregon, New York, I know you guys definitely have high income tax at a state level. I mean, it's ironic I'm doing this video now at tax time. I mean, I'm filling out my taxes. I can just skip past the state income tax and not have to worry about that. I mean, I pay enough on my federal tax. I don't want to really pay any more on my state level. And that's one of the great things about living in Vegas. We're one of the 8 states that don't have any state income tax. And over the course of a year, that definitely adds up. I mean, some people in California are paying 10% plus on just the state level as well as federal level. So when you couple all that in terms of how our prices are, we know we have no state income tax, we have low property tax, no inheritance tax, we've got really friendly business tax as well. And you know, if you're wanting to set up a business in the area, then we're very tax friendly for that. Obviously, there's downsides to that as well. We're going to maybe talk on some of the cons where our tax money could probably be helping out other things as well. But all of our taxes really come from the fact of the casinos and all the money they're bringing in. So then as well, there's probably certain things that are there to protect the casinos. Like if you're an investor who's looking to maybe purchase a short-term rental here, it's going to be a little bit harder to get that going. There's a lot of different regulations and rules that almost make you want to not bother going through it and maybe invest in a different state or a different city. Obviously, Vegas, they want to protect that income that's coming into the state from the casinos. And then the upshot of that is then we don't have to pay a state income tax. In some degree, I don't mind protecting the casinos because it means we don't have to worry about that state income tax. That gives you a bit more money in your pocket for maybe investing, maybe doing something as a family, maybe going traveling if you wanted to do that, whatever it is. I mean, that definitely adds up. 10% of your yearly salary in some places, that's definitely can be a sizable amount. So it'll be wrong of me not to do a pros and cons video without mentioning the state income tax, but I am pretty sure most of you who are looking at moving to the area already are aware of that. But maybe not. Let me know in the comments below if that's news to you. So there's the pros. Let's move on to the cons because it's not all sunshine and rainbows and glitter and fairies. There are some cons that maybe could affect you in deciding to move here. I know I certainly probably, when I was building my list before I moved here, I probably had a lot more cons than pros if I'm being completely honest. But now living here, and not just because I'm in the real estate industry, but also as a parent, as a husband, living in the communities, I definitely can see a lot more pros. But there are definitely some cons to be aware of for sure. I've already mentioned the weather as being a pro, but also the weather can be a con. We have really hot summers. Sometimes you might come here for like a weekend and you're in and out of casinos with your air conditioned. Maybe you're in nightclubs and you're just not feeling the heat as much as you would on a day-to-day basis. But sometimes those summers can feel quite hot. We can hit temperatures up to 120, 125 degrees in July and August, and that is, that's definitely a hot temperature. You don't really want to be going outside in those temperatures. And obviously with the sun baking on you as well, it also probably feels a lot more hotter than what it is. And then with that, obviously it's a dry heat. It's not a humid heat, which is a good thing. I definitely prefer the dry heat as opposed to that humid, sweaty and drowning feeling. But because of the dry heat, I personally ended up with kidney stones on my first summer here, which was the worst pain I've ever had. I remember saying to my wife that I felt like something was going to burst inside me. Ironically, where we were living at the time was just across the street from a hospital, and I was telling her, you need to call me an ambulance, you need to call me an ambulance. I was going bedroom to bathroom, and she was like, I'm not going to call you an ambulance, it's already across the street, go and walk. And if you've had kidney stones, you'll definitely know that was definitely not the right thing to say. But we ended up settling on an Uber, and I ordered an Uber just to take me literally across the street to get to the hospital. Thankfully, when I got there, it wasn't something bursting, it was just a kidney stone. It wasn't too big, but they told me that the pain can be worse than childbirth. I mean, I don't know. I haven't gone through childbirth. That's just what the nurse told me at the time, and she was pretty adamant about it. Also warned me that it was going to hurt when it passed. Thankfully, it didn't, but the scariness of that made me want to stay hydrated. So I'm always drinking water now, because she also told me it will come back. Because I've had it once, it will come back again, and I definitely do not want that pain again. I broke my leg playing soccer when I was younger, and the pain was completely different. Maybe because I had adrenaline when I was playing soccer, I don't know, but I really felt like something was going to burst. So definitely stay hydrated. Obviously, you want to keep yourself protected from the sun as well, so make sure you're putting on sunscreen in the summer. And then also with the weather, something that catches people out is it actually does get quite cold. It gets quite low into high 30s, low 40s in the winter. And because we're in a valley as well, it also gets quite windy. If you're in one of those suburbs that is really close to the mountains, the wind coupled with the cold, it can actually feel quite cold, like it's almost cutting against your ears. I mean, I don't have big ears at all, but I definitely feel it when the wind is out. So definitely the winters are going to catch you out. So for some people, the summer is going to be okay. It's going to be a pro. And for others, it might be like, oh, I don't fancy that. The next con is going to definitely speak to you if you're a parent or if you have kids that you're thinking about in the future maybe, and that is our education system. I remember when I was doing all the research about moving here, there wasn't any YouTube videos, and although my wife lived here, she didn't really live here. She didn't really understand the school system and the neighborhoods. It was, she just didn't understand it all. She didn't want to understand it all, so I had to do, thankfully it was during COVID and I had time to Google everything, and I probably bugged her, sending her Facebook messages all the time of all the different links to go and check out. But one of the things that alarmed me was the school district, rated number 49 out of 50. I mean, as a parent, it just didn't make sense to me. Like, how could a school district be so bad? And obviously some of it is because of the funding. I think it's underfunded from a state level. We bring all of these taxes in, but it doesn't really get dispersed down to the school district. But then as I dived deeper, and I didn't just look at the rankings, I looked at greatschools.org, niche.com, the Clark County School District, I could actually see there's some amazing schools in the area. You just need to make sure you're setting yourself up where, depending on what age, we had still have elementary age kids, so we made sure where we were looking at had a good elementary, middle and high school, so that if we stayed in that area, we could go through the whole three and they would be completely fine. Depending on what part of town, maybe you might just have a good middle school, but maybe the elementary and high school aren't going to be good, or maybe the elementary and middle school are good, but the high school isn't so good. So you just need to take that time to deep dive the research, and when you find the schools that you like, then on the Clark County School District, you can sort of see the zoning and where the zoning might be for those schools. But I also think, because we're probably the 5th largest school district in the country, that because you've got so many different schools and so many different students that obviously play into that, then the average is going to be affected, because there are some really bad schools on a certain part of town that really bring it down for everybody. If you took the schools from Henderson and Summerlin and even Boulder City out, they would probably rank amongst the highest in the whole country, and that's no lie. When you do your research, you'll definitely see that as well. So if you are thinking maybe the school district isn't great, or maybe it's a concern for you, or maybe you just want to, we can jump on a Zoom maybe and we can go through it together. Reach out then on my details below, because I love talking about the schools, because obviously I'm a parent, I have 5 kids myself, and I love talking about the schools. I don't think they're as bad as what they sometimes are made out to be. We also have some really, nationally recognized private schools within the Las Vegas area, really good charter schools as well. And also we have a really good homeschooling community. So whatever way you want to go, we're thinking of homeschooling our youngest one, just because we don't want her to leave home. Actually, she's our youngest, our baby. We want to keep her home and, help her as much as we can. So we're thinking of homeschooling her as opposed to all the other kids who are in public school. Whatever route you want to go, though, as a parent, I can say, I think if you make the right decision on the area, your schools are going to be fine. The next con is going to be the limited healthcare options. I mean, I see it all the time on social media. Maybe especially people moving from California. A lot of people do bash our healthcare system, and I can understand it. I mean, we've had, if you haven't heard this before, we had our own awful experience with our first pediatrician when our baby was born. I'll try and make that as quick as possible for you, but she was born jaundice, and the pediatrician at the time was telling my wife to give her water. She needs to drink water, and my wife was like, luckily, because I had no idea, my wife was like, no, you don't give a newborn baby water. That's just not what you do. The newborn baby should only be having milk. If she's jaundice, there's got to be other ways to treat it. Then he was trying to send us to a laboratory to get her blood work done, and this laboratory was Quest Diagnostics, where they were getting everyone tested for COVID at the time because she was born when COVID was still a thing. And obviously as a newborn, you don't want them exposed to that potential risk. And because we said we weren't comfortable with doing that, he was threatening to call CPS and saying that we were neglecting her care. Obviously that then really riled us up as parents, and luckily we were able to change her and get her into a different pediatrician. If you want to know that pediatrician and you're looking for a good pediatrician, I'll happily share it with you because they are amazing. All of our kids love it there. They, you know, whenever I tell my daughter we're going to go to the doctor, she's always asking, will she get a lollipop and a sticker? Because that's what she always gets on the way out. And actually, she's not as terrified as she used to be now when she goes there. They even though we don't get that often, they all know our kids by name as well, and they are super good. All of them, not just the main doctor, but all of the people within that facility are great. It is located in Henderson, just so you know, but if that's the area town that maybe you're looking at, then I'll definitely give you those details. And that's what I think is the issue, is that sometimes the access to good providers is going to be very hard. If you're thinking you can just rock up and go to the nearest place to you, and that's going to be a good facility, that's where I think the disconnect is. And sometimes if you're looking for specialist care, if you've got specialist medical needs, sometimes that can be a bit longer, and sometimes the wait times for the real good ones can also be a little bit longer as well. To put it into perspective, my primary care is in Henderson, but my wife's is the other side of Vegas because she took a while to find one that she likes. And then the kids' dentist is also in the southwest area of Vegas, where we travel maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes to take them to the dentist because we took our time to find a really good dentist. And if you take the time to find a good one and do that research, you might have to travel a little bit more. But if you ask me, I'd rather travel 30, 40 minutes to go to a good one than end up 5 minutes away from a rubbish one that's talking nonsense about water and jaundice and CPS. I know which one I would prefer. So if you want some recommendations, let me know. And if you are worried about the healthcare here, I think we are quite good. I don't think it's as bad as everyone makes out. From a personal view, that's just my own perspective. We're all entitled to our opinions, but that's my opinion. One of the other cons that catches a lot of people out when they first move here is the hard water. Our water, is amongst the hardest in the whole country. I think there's only one place that is actually harder than ours. I'll have to look it up and try and pull it on the screen for you. But our water has got such a high concentration of minerals that it's ridiculous how hard our water is. I always say when I have people who are buying homes here to make sure if your home doesn't have a water softener, then definitely make sure you invest in one. You can get them in Home Depot, or you can get them in Lowe's as well. The unit itself isn't so expensive, but maybe getting someone to fit it is going to be where the cost can be. And then depending on what type of softener it is, you just need to keep it topped up with salt and pellets. But if you don't do that, then the damage that can be happening to your plumbing, to your fixtures like your faucets and your shower heads, you get all that grimy buildup. You also feel it when you're taking a shower. You can feel the water, or when you're brushing your teeth even, you can feel it. Sometimes if we take a staycation in some of the hotels on the strip, you actually feel the difference in the water, because I don't think they actually have a water softener system. Well, it doesn't feel like they do compared to our normal water. You also feel it in your clothes with your laundry. They come out a little bit duller as well. My wife used to complain all the time about her hair and how it affects her hair. So if you're moving here and you're not aware about how hard our water is, it could potentially catch you out. My advice is definitely make sure either the home has a water softener, and 99% of the time if it has one, it normally stays with the house anyway. And if it doesn't, then just make sure you get one. If you're buying a new construction home, it'll already be pre-looped for that water softener, so it's a lot easier in terms of plumbing and getting that connected up as well. And then from there, then you'll be fine. One thing I would say though is definitely don't drink our water from the faucet unless you've got some sort of filtration on there, because our water is quite yucky. My son accidentally drank some water from a faucet and he had really bad diarrhea straight away almost. From drinking that water, and that was a lesson he learned the hard way, and I've definitely never drank it as I've got a real sensitive tummy as it is. So definitely don't drink the water from our faucets, and make sure you have a water softener installed in your home. And then the final con to mention is going to be the lack of a sense of community. I mean, it's something I wasn't used to, and certainly my wife wasn't used to before we moved to Vegas. We've come from places where there really is that sense of community. There are some neighborhoods within Vegas, and that's the caveat to that, and Henderson, where there is a sense of community. I mean, Sky Canyon in the northwest has a real good sense of community. Cadence has a relatively good sense of community, and for me, my favorite community in the whole of the Las Vegas area, and if you've watched any of my videos, you're probably sick of me talking about Inspirada at this point, but I just love Inspirada. That's why we're going to be moving there in the summer this year. finally it's happening. The right home has become available. The sense of community there, I think, is unparalleled. I think it's the best if you're looking for a place where you don't mind if you got a smaller backyard, because you know the sense of community is going to be really important to you. Then definitely you should be looking at Inspirada. It's hard in other communities where, you know, you could be living next to someone, you don't really talk to your neighbor, everyone just keeps themselves to themselves. It's a very transient population. A lot of that is what comes down to that lack of sense of community. I mean, people are always coming and going, moving out. You see so many different U-Hauls and moving trucks around because it is that transient population. And it's also affected my 11-year-old. I mean, he sometimes now is a little bit put off making new friends, because he's like, well, Dad, they're going to be moving soon, so what's the point in making friends? I'm not going to see them maybe in a few months, because either they're going to be moving or maybe someone else is going to be moving. So it sort of stopped him. I feel like he's sort of been held back making friends. He used to be quite social and now sort of held back a little bit. And I think that is because of the lack of a sense of community. He doesn't want to get close to anybody and then they leave and then he has to start all over again, because it's hard. I mean, he's a preteen now, so he's going through all those different emotions as it is. But it's definitely hard, you know, going through that effort of opening yourself up to someone and then they move and you have to start the process again. So I'm hoping with everything that's going on and when we move to Inspirada, I'm hoping he can, you know, maybe come back out of his shell and start making friends again. But if you're thinking, and I've had people who moved here, someone moved here from Arizona and he was thinking, yeah, I'm going to move to Vegas and make loads of friends and it's going to be amazing. And then actually it didn't happen because the community he was living in Silverado Ranch, everybody just kept themselves to themselves. And I understand it. Not everybody wants to have that, but he was thinking because Vegas is such a great party town where everyone's having a good time, that it's going to just be so easy to make friends. And it wasn't. And it actually affected his mental health as well, which was really sad to hear. So if you're thinking that that's going to be the same for you, then definitely make sure you're going to be put into the right community. And if those things are important to you, again, it's always important to reach out on my details there, however you're comfortable, whenever you're ready, and I can sort of help you choosing those communities, because honestly, I think it's one of the big things about Vegas is just a real lack of a sense of community. Maybe it's the same in the states that you're in. If it is, let me know if it's also happening where you are, but I certainly wasn't used to it from before. And that's it, guys. That's the pros and cons of living in Las Vegas. Hopefully you found that video useful. Hopefully it's given you some insight and maybe helped you deciding whether you want to move here or maybe you don't want to move here. I mean, I'm not going to be offended if you don't want to move here, but hopefully what I want from this video is it has at least helped you, or maybe it opened you up to more information. And if you want any more information, then I've got plenty more videos that are going to pop up at the end of this video that you can watch as well, and different playlists for maybe different neighborhoods or communities. I do vlog tours or also like this style as well. So hopefully that's at least got the ball rolling for you in the process one way or another. If you have found this video useful, then please give it a like, and also drop me a comment down below and let me know where you're watching from. I love to see where you guys are actually watching from, whether that's within the States or outside of the States. In my head, I think most people are watching from California, but I'd love you to prove me wrong and tell me where you're actually watching from. And so pop that down below. Also, if you haven't already, then please subscribe and tap on the bell for notifications. I try to post every Saturday morning, but sometimes, maybe depending on schedules, it might not happen. So that way, if you have tapped on the bell, at least you'll be notified when I have dropped a new video. And also then obviously subscribing. I just appreciate you all so much. It definitely helps my channel grow. If there's any videos that you would like me to comment, actually do or film, or any topics you would like me to cover, also pop that down in the comments below, because I want to give you the content that's relevant to you at the end of the day. I have an idea of what I think is relevant, but that might just be my perspective, so share your perspective as well. Because if we do end up working together, it's going to be a two-way relationship anyway, so why not start that now? If you are thinking about moving to Las Vegas or Henderson as well, then I would really love to represent you on your move here. It's so important to have someone in your corner representing you as well, so I would love to be that person. So if you are, whenever you're ready, then you can reach out to me on the details down below. Whenever you're ready, however you're comfortable, and I'd definitely love to look after you on your move here for sure. But until the next time, guys, thank you for watching. You take care.